Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the high-stakes world of mining. We're going to be using Michael Coulson's An Insider's Guide to the Mining Sector as our map to really distill decades of wisdom and figure out the allure, the risks, and, the unwritten rules of this totally fascinating industry. And let's just start with this quote, because it gets right to the heart of it all. This idea, the prospect of instant riches, that's the glamour, that's the magnetic pull. You've got this world built on massive, unforgiving risk, but it's all fueled by the promise of just spectacular, life-changing wealth. And that tension, that's what makes it so compelling. And look, this isn't just some theory. History is absolutely full of these incredible stories. I mean, take the Poseidon boom. In the late 1960s, a tiny Australian stock called Poseidon was trading for, pennies. Then, bam, a nickel discovery sends its shares rocketing from just 6 pence to over 120 pounds in less than 2 years. Just an explosion of value that shows you how insanely powerful and fast a mining boom can be. Okay, so you've got the glamour, you've got the crazy stories, but beyond that, there's a real strategic logic here. You see, mining stocks often move against the grain of the rest of the market. They're what's called counter-cyclical. So what does that mean? Well, it means when other stocks are falling apart in a bad economy, mining can actually be a safe place to be. So what on earth is driving these wild swings? Well, the whole engine of the mining world really comes down to one big idea: cyclicality. It's actually pretty simple. The whole sector moves in these massive waves. When the global economy is growing and we're building stuff, demand for things like copper and iron just soars. But when the economy slows down, demand dries up. And this up and down creates these really powerful, almost predictable cycles of boom and bust. Now, this chart really lets you see what we're talking about. This is like the EKG of the metals market. Just look at the roller coaster ride over the decades. You've got the big boom in the 70s, then the doldrums of the 90s where nothing was happening, and then that absolutely insane supercycle peak in the 2000s. It's the perfect picture of how volatile and, how rewarding this world can be. So what caused that huge spike we just saw? What drove that supercycle? Well, it was one force more than any other: China. The country's massive, unbelievable industrialization. They were building whole cities from scratch, created a demand the world had literally never seen before. It was this unprecedented, long-term hunger for every raw material you can think of, and it completely reshaped the entire global mining business. Okay, but here's the flip side. This incredible potential for profit, this dream of finding the next big thing, it can create an environment where things go horribly, horribly wrong, where hype and greed just take over. And there is no story, no cautionary tale more infamous than the Barrick scandal. Seriously, this story unfolds like a Hollywood thriller. It starts with this little nobody company buying a worthless patch of jungle in Indonesia. Then they announce a huge gold find. The stock starts to climb. They announce an even bigger find. The stock goes vertical. It becomes a global phenomenon. But as you can see, the end came just as fast, and it was brutal. And to really get the scale of this whole thing, you have to look at this number: 70 million ounces. That's what Barrick claimed they had. That would have been one of the biggest gold deposits in human history. A number that big, it just mesmerized the market. It silenced anyone who had doubts, and it sent that stock into the stratosphere. But here's the thing. The whole dream, the whole 70 million ounce discovery, it was built on a complete lie. The rock samples that were supposed to be the proof, they were faked. They'd been systematically tampered with in a practice called salting. Basically, they were shaving off bits of gold from other places and mixing it into their samples. It was, hands down, the biggest mining scam in history. And when the truth finally came out, the collapse was absolute. Total. This company that had been a darling of the market, worth billions of dollars, became worthless. Literally, overnight. People's fortunes were just gone, wiped out. And the whole scandal left this permanent scar on the industry, a brutal lesson in what happens when glamour turns into a delusion. Okay, so the Barrick story is frankly terrifying. And it makes you wonder, how can you even think about investing in a world with that kind of peril? How do you get the upside without getting completely burned? Well, this is where the book gives us a kind of playbook, distilled from decades of real-world experience. So here are some of those key rules, and you can see they're all about discipline, about being aware of the cycles, and about keeping our emotions in check. You got to know when to get in, sure, but it's even more important to know when to get out. And that last point, man, that's the golden rule right there. Never, ever fall in love with one of these stocks, because it will break your heart. And here's a really powerful way to think about the role these stocks can play. This comes from the legendary investor Julian Baring. He said you should think about gold shares like an insurance policy for your house. You don't buy house insurance because you expect your house to burn down, right? You buy it to protect you from financial ruin if it does. Gold can do the same thing for your portfolio when everything else is going south. And that brings us to this final piece of wisdom, which I think is just brilliant. Think about it. This whole sector is defined by these huge wild parties, followed by even bigger hangovers. The real question is always, when do you go home? The smartest people in the room know when to leave, happy with what they've made. They're totally okay leaving that last, most expensive glass of champagne for someone else to drink, right before the clock strikes midnight.